So at Apache Capital, really, let me just start by saying we're on a mission or a journey to partner with ambitious small businesses and empower them to thrive by providing them with access to technologies that can push them a step further to getting access to financial services. So we were part of a program or an initiative called the Think Like an Investor program. This program is Team Europe's idea, whereby it's a data initiative for Africa. So as part of this, there was a selection that was happening across Africa where 200 participants took place to be part of the prestigious initiative. So Apache Capital emerged as a victorious winner to be part of the top 10 startups in Africa to be the cohort for the Think Like an Investor program. So this is why we got the opportunity to be able to access the trip to Estonia to do so much more, which we will talk about.
Most definitely. I think also if you can also highlight the solutions that are brought by Apache Capital, it being solution driven, actually what were the challenges being addressed by the business itself?
Yeah, so when we basically started Apache Capital, we focused on the pain point that affects small businesses really, especially those in the informal sector. So our focus was to understand what is it that makes it difficult for informal small businesses to thrive. Then we realized that it was access to capital. These are the businesses, like you would know, that operate in the informal economy. Cash is the most popular form of making payment, and with cash it's difficult to trace how they spend it or the behavior around it. And these are the businesses that you would know they don't keep financial records or records of that business activities. And the lack of that data, you know, it is what makes it difficult for these businesses to have a credit score or something that financial institutions can leverage to tell a story about how these businesses can be credit worthy. So when these businesses visit financial institutions, they won't have financial records, they won't have a credit score that can tell the financial behavior of that they are doing. So our focus was to build a bridge that will be able to position the small businesses to a point where financial service providers can be able to be comfortable to provide them with microloans. This is why we built Apache. And then we looked into modern technologies such as artificial intelligence to be able to underwrite credit faster and quickly to these businesses anywhere they are.
Right, sounds like solutions indeed. Now let's speak also about your experience there in Estonia, now presenting your business at a high-level forum. How was the experience like, and what could you say that afterwards this has been the key or the highlight of your presentation, or even the results of the presentation itself?
Yeah, so at Estonia, to be honest, we were mind blown by the level of innovation, by how digitized the Estonian society is. You know, we started first by attending various events from the Latitude 59, which is the largest competition for startups with innovation in technology in Europe. So it was mind-blowing to learn from other ambitious startup owners, you know, that are creating so many things that are solving global challenges. We attended various conferences such as the Africa Business Forum to the e-governance conference, where we were able to learn more about how did Estonia build a digital society, how a startup in Estonia making it big. You know, Estonia, it's home for various unicorn companies such as Skype, such as Ball, such as Wise, and we got an opportunity to learn from such founders on how they built themselves as unicorn companies, which is important for us as well to be able to leverage. So we got that experience, you know, from the networking itself, which gave us highlights on what will it take for startup founders like Apache to be able to position themselves as well and compete globally. So the experience from sharing knowledge, it was really, really key for us. So my biggest highlight was when I got to be invited to the State House by the President of Estonia and the President of Botswana, DUMA BOKO, where I was fortunate to share our vision into the future as Apache Capital, how we are disrupting banking and how we are supporting micro small businesses. So for me, it was a moment because it ignited my vision. You know, coming all the way from Tutume village to the State House in Estonia to share what Apache does, it's inspiration to thousands and millions of founders out there that indeed technology and innovation, when you use it wisely, it can change dreams for yourself.
Most definitely, and I think you are one of those biggest inspirations that we have right here in our country. Now, let's also speak about, from your experience there in Estonia, what are those most important practices that Estonia has in place that you think Botswana could adopt or could adapt to?
Yeah, so the first important thing, you would look into what we call integration and interoperability of government systems, how Estonia exchanges data from the public sector and the private sector. So they did design a system called the X-Road. So this is a system that enables easy or seamless data exchange between how Estonia operates. So for me, it was exciting to learn about it because you would imagine the efficiency of the whole system, you know, from having an ID card and how you can use that ID card to access various services at instant. So for me, speed was one thing that mattered to me, and then the security of the data itself, you know, having all these systems decentralized, and how it was just mind-blowing. So for me, how Estonia uses the X-Road data infrastructure to be able to do data exchange, it was really a highlight for me, because as a fintech startup, data is very important, you know, and security is key to us because we want to build trust with customers. So our idea was, how can we learn from X-Road as a data infrastructure, and how can we leverage it as Apache Capital to be able to decentralize data and manage it within Apache Capital. So that was a highlight for me. And it's something that I believe that if Botswana can understand how the public and the private sector can work together and exchange information on how it can enhance service delivery, it's something that would be really important. So we learned a lot of amazing things, you know, from e-ambulances, you know, where, let's say, for example, you have an emergency or crisis at a scene, you know, how data would be shared with hospitals, and then when you get to hospitals, they already have your data, they already know your blood type, everything happening in an instant. So I believe that if we could copy some of those innovations, you know, would be able to even save lives in our country. There are so many things that we learned that I feel like benchmarking from the Estonian government, it's a step to digitizing Botswana and positioning it as a high-income country.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of which, those things or those practices we could adopt as Botswana, where do you think Botswana is lacking, or where do you think Botswana, where there's still room for improvement? What are those areas that you believe that Botswana really needs to work on those?
Yeah, to be honest, let me say that Botswana has everything it takes, you know, to dominate as a powerhouse. You know, we have the talent, we have the initiatives. We've been benchmarking for a very, very long time. The ideas are there, the strategies are there, the plans are there. What we lack, I think it would be leadership. You know, we just need to be able to be deliberate and take decisions. We need to be intentional when we decide. You know, we have solutions like Apache, for example. You know, systems that can be able to empower informal small businesses. Why not take solutions like Apache and ensure that small businesses can leverage these systems so that the government itself can be in a position to even monitor these businesses and understand how to offer proactive advisory services to these businesses. There are so many young Botswana that are talented, that are doing amazing things that I've seen in Estonia and things that I've seen in Vivatech in France when I went the other time. So we are doing exactly what those guys are doing. What we lack here is Botswana trusting on its own innovation and technology and its own talent, and taking the solutions and consuming it locally. That is what I feel like we lack. You know, we just need to take our solutions that are homegrown, solutions that are founded and funded by the government itself, to be able to test within these institutions and figure it out how we work. You know, if our government would look first locally in what we have, I think that will take us far. You know, it's good to always benchmark. It's good to learn from other nations on how they are doing. But it is also good to use what you already have and to grow it. That's what I feel. That's what we can do to take Botswana forward.
Most definitely. I want to hear you better right there. Would you say uptake of our local products is a bit low or a bit slow, either from government level or even at community level? Do you think Botswana was still lagging behind, and we feel like other goods or other services from other countries are the ones that we actually respect better than our own?
I would say the uptake is very slow. You know, let me give an example of the Chama Chama initiative. You know, very good program, right? The initiative aims to empower informal small businesses. We give them grants, right? But now the problem was, how do we monitor these businesses, right? How do we ensure that these businesses are still active, you know? But when you look into local innovations, Ipachi solutions are there. They've been funded by the Botswana Innovation Fund, the government of Botswana. So instead of consuming Ipachi and be like, here's Chama Chama initiative, here is Ipachi mobile app. The beneficiaries of Chama Chama can be given Ipachi mobile app so that they can be able to run their businesses on Ipachi mobile app. And as the government, you can be able, wherever you are, to be able to see how these businesses are doing in terms of their sales, if they're making profit and things like that. This is a live example of how Ipachi, as a local funded solution, can work together with a government initiative called the Chama Chama to be able to deliver shared value. This is what the government needs to empower its own innovation and its own citizens to move Botswana forward. I'm giving an example of Ipachi because I'm from Ipachi capital. You know, this is what I'm saying, the uptake is slow. You would find that we are knocking, I believe other Botswana innovators and startup founders are knocking very, very hard for similar opportunities. So I feel like if the government can pay more attention to local innovations, visit institutions like Botswana Innovation Fund, the guys who are doing, who are manufacturing aeroplanes, you know, the guys that are doing amazing things in Botswana. So if we can just look into what they are doing, pilot with them, put them in sandboxes so that we can be able to see what they're doing and increase the uptake. I think that's what can better position Botswana forward.
Most definitely. I think also, speaking of which, let's also speak about Ipachi, like what you plan to do even after your experiences in the global stages. I don't think this is the first one. So
yes.
Let's speak about how you would aim or plan to support local businesses or small businesses here in Botswana to ensure that there's actually growth, whilst we're looking at your own growth, but you're also contributing towards the economy of Botswana, of course.
Yeah. So firstly, you know, what we do at Ipachi, we try to firstly communicate what we do as a company, because we believe once we can be able to set the tone that there are local innovations that can create social impact, then others will follow suit. So at the moment, we're trying to digitize small businesses in the informal sector. You know, for us to be able to empower this sector, it has to be digital. You know, there has to be a digital trade. So this is why we have given them a tool to start running their businesses on Ipachi mobile app, so that we can be able to empower them by giving them access to microloans. These businesses, for example, spaza shop, corner stores or kiosks, once they get access to credit, it means they have an opportunity to have money to buy more inventory, to have money to empower themselves, and to have the power to employ themselves. You know, it's very difficult today to get a job, because unemployment rates are very, very high. So instead of focusing on how can we create jobs, let us focus on how can we empower individuals themselves to create jobs. So by Ipachi Capital to digitize the small businesses and giving them access to microloans, we are saying we want to focus more on empowerment of small business owners, so that they can move forward. Beyond that, you know, we always participate in various activities. We participate in various events to share knowledge about the importance of digitization as a small business owner. We contribute where we can, and, you know, for us to be dominating at an international stage, I believe it serves as inspiration to other Botswana out there. So we just want to become a model for Botswana, so that other founders can look at what we are doing and learn from them. Then maybe it can inspire other founders to do the same.
Most definitely. I think your story is an interesting one. Of course, if we had a lot of time, we'd get to delve more into that. But young people, how can young people in Botswana be inspired to, you know, think globally, expand, you know, and innovate locally? Given all the bottlenecks that we experience in our market or in our economy, what really can be done? What really can young people do?
Yeah, so as much as there's so much to learn and as much as the government has so much to do to support local innovation, we as founders as well, or entrepreneurs, what we need to do is to understand exactly what we are doing. When we build solutions, let us have a global vision. Let us not build only for Botswana. We need to build something that can compete at a global level. You know, we don't have to duplicate another Facebook. We don't have to duplicate another Amazon. What we have to do is to have novelty, to build original solutions that can be unique and compete. And the most important thing is understand your business from its business model. How are you going to be different? How are you going to distribute your services? And how are you going to make more money? Pay more time to getting the knowledge itself. Get the insights first. It's not about registering a company and saying you have an idea. It's about having the knowledge, you know, to understand what it takes to scale. We build for scale, not just building a solution. This is why a lot of innovations locally, they don't get international recognition, because we are building with the mindset of locality. So we need to focus on the bigger picture, compete with other global AIs, you know, global companies. So that's why I'm saying, let's get the knowledge, let's get the right insights, focus on the research so that you can understand exactly how to build for scale.
Now we have 30 seconds, and the last 30 seconds, this is my question to you. What's your vision for Botswana's future when it comes to digital infrastructure and entrepreneurial support? What is your vision in that line?
For me, I would say my vision for Botswana, it's a Botswana that has the leaders that are intentional in supporting local ecosystem. Is to have leaders who would make choices to empower these local innovations. It's for us to have founders that are thinking globally. It's for us to, it's a Botswana that reimagines itself, that it has whatever it takes, it has the talent, it has the skills. It doesn't lack anything. What lacks is, let's make a choice, let's decide to build for Botswana and to build for Africa.
All right. Well, Mr. Munyatsi, thank you so much for your time this morning. And of course, once again, congratulations. This is not just the stage that we're congratulating you for, and also the milestones and also the sustainability that comes after your experience there in Estonia. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Most definitely. All right, that was Mr. Shine Munyatsi, of course, shining indeed, and of course with the Ipachi Capital. They say go further.
Leba morupile coal mine nngwe ya dilo tse e leng gore re tshwanetse gore re di sedimosetse